Yesterday, Sayadaw explained Vata, the rounds. Sayadaw explained that the continuous arising of the cause and effect is called Vata. The cause and effect are arising in a chain, in a series, one after another, and it is Vata. So the cause and effect are arising in a chain, in rotation, just like a fan, and it is called Vata. There are three kinds of Vata: Kilesa Vata, the round of defilements; Kamma Vata, round of deeds; and Vipaka Vata, round of resultants. Kilesa Vata is the round of defilements, where the defilements are arising continuously, just like a fan rotating. Kamma Vata are the round of deeds. Wholesome deeds and unwholesome deeds are arising continuously, just like a fan rotating, and thus it is called Kamma Vata, the round of deeds. So one cultivates wholesome deeds by body and speech. One performs good conduct physically, verbally, and one also commits misconduct, evil conduct, by body and speech. So in this way, good conduct and bad conduct, physically and verbally, are arising continuously, and it is called Kamma Vata, round of deeds. Because of one's deeds, good and bad deeds, there will be good and bad results, as well as good and bad subsequent results. Sayadaw explains that Kilesa Vata, the round of defilements, involves avijja, ignorance, tasna, craving, and upadana, clinging. Based on these defilements, avijja, tasna, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging, the person does good and bad deeds. The person does sucharita, good conduct, docharita, bad conduct, based on the avijja, tasna, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. And thus, Kamma Vata, round of deeds, are generated by Kilesa Vata, round of defilements. Having done good and bad deeds, the person gets good and bad results in this very life, as well as there will be subsequent results. And it is called Vipaka Vata, round of resultants. So one should think that among the three kinds of round, which is the one that is most important? By cutting, by removing one kind of round, one automatically removes the other rounds. By removing one, the other will also be removed. The example is given. It is compared to the head. the head is the most important part of the body. If the head is cut off, the person dies, nothing else can be done to make the person alive again if the head has been cut off. So the head is the most important part of the body. The other parts, such as hands and legs, they are not as important. Even though the person is cut off at the hand or the leg, the person still survives. But if the head has been cut, the person can no longer survive. So among these three kinds of rounds, one needs to know which round is the most important, and one also needs to know what should one do in order to cut the three rounds. And Sayadaw will continue to explain from both theoretical and practical aspects, and Sayadaw will explain how the three rounds rotate as well as how the three rounds will be cut. The three rounds, Kilesavada, Kamavada, and Vipakavada, the round of defilements, the round of deeds, the round of resultants, are arising continuously, just like a fan rotating. At times they are rotating at fast speed. At times they are rotating at normal speed. At times they are rotating in slow speed. Because there is the Kilesavada, the round of defilements, there will be Kamavada, the round of deeds. And Kamavada, round of deeds, generates Vipakavada, the round of resultants. Throughout the round of existences, the wrong view of Atta has been deeply seated. And based on this wrong view, there is avidya, ignorance. What really arises are the nama-rupa, the materiality and mentality that are arising at the sixth sense door, arising as receptor element, striker element, and the ignition element. Not being mindful, one does not discern. The person has avidya, ignorance, and not being able to remove avidya, ignorance, the person does not see suffering as suffering, but instead the person takes that it is good and pleasant, and the person craves. There will be craving, longing for pleasant objects as the person takes them as good and pleasant. And the person has wrong view that it is I, it is person, being, living soul. In this way, the person generates avidya, taṇņa, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. Based on avidya, taṇņa, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging, the person performs good and bad deeds, and good and bad deeds generate resultants. So in this way, the three rounds keep on rotating without a stop, without a gap, without a rest. And they are called vada, the rounds. So to explain the three rounds it might be difficult to understand. So the example is given of a tree. So in the world, on the earth, there are many species of trees. And there are trees that give fruit. The whole tree is green. The stem, the branches, the leaves are green. So in order to keep the stem, branches, and leaves to be green, there is the sap that pervades in the entire tree. So based on the nutrients that the tree gets, the sap will pervade in the whole tree. And because there is the sap, the tree is kept green with flowers, fruits, and so on. So in the beginning, the tree is not mature yet, but as the potency to generate more trees will become mature. So the tree gradually grows, becoming more and more mature. And because there is the sap pervading in the whole tree, the tree is kept green as well as giving flowers and fruit. In the fruit, there is the seed, and in the seed, there is the potency to give rise to new trees. So, if the fruit falls, the seed will give new tree. The seed will give sprout into a new tree. So in the tree, there is the potency. In the seed, there is the potency to generate the new tree. First, the seed will sprout into a sprout, and then it will become a tree. So because there is the potency, the potential to give rise to new trees, there will be new generation of trees. The culprit is the sap. Because there is the sap, the tree is green and the tree gives fruits. The fruits has seeds that has the potency to give rise to new tree. Because the tree gets the nutrients from the soil, water, as well as the sun, the nutrients are absorbed by the tree that generates the sap. So the tree needs fertilizer as well as the nutrients from the soil, water, sunshine, in order to keep the tree growing. Because of the nutriment from the soil, water, air, and the sunshine, the sap pervades in the whole tree, and thus the tree will give fruit and seed, and again another generation of trees. So if the person wants to kill the tree, one needs to know what to do in order to kill the tree. By understanding the example of a tree, comparing with the 3 rounds, one will understand it easier. The sap that is pervading in the whole tree is compared to Kilesavada, the round of resultant. And the fruit has the seed, and from the seed it generates the new generation of tree. Because there is the sap, the seed will arise, the seed will exist. Based on the Kilesavata, the round of defilements, the person performs good and bad deeds. So this round of good and bad deeds are compared to the seed of the tree, the seed. So just as Kilesavata, the round of deeds, generates the resultants, Vipassana, in the same way, the new generation of trees are compared to Vipassana, the round of resultants. So, in the example, the Kilesavata is compared to the sap of the tree. Kamavata is compared to the seed. Vipassana is compared to the new generation of trees. Just as the sap is generated by nutriments that has been absorbed by the tree from the soil, water, air, and the sunshine, in the same way, the sensual pleasure of a human being, the sensual pleasure of a deity, such as seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, the touch between the opposite sex, such are generating the defilements. As the person sees good, pleasant visible objects, hearing good sounds, and eating good flavor, eating delicious food, coming into contact with things as well as the contact between the opposite sex, such kind of sensual objects are captivating the person, so that there is a big bondage between the sensual object and the person. So based on these sensual objects, avijja, tasna, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging arise. So these sensual pleasure generates avijja, tasna, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. And such kind of pleasure have no guarantee. There is the kind of pleasure, happiness, that excels many times than the sensual happiness. There is nekkhamma rati, nekkhamma sukha, the happiness of renunciation, upasama viveka sukha, the happiness of seclusion, as the person practices alone, away from the companionship of person, being, or the defilements. And when the practice gains momentum, one calms and suppresses the defilements and gains upasama sukha. And one cultivates knowledge stage by stage, and finally one realizes nibbana, the cessation, by attaining magga phala jnana, path and fruition knowledge, and one gains sambodha sukha, that has guarantee. The person not seeing the flaws of sensual pleasure, sensual happiness, will generate the kilesa defilements. Not knowing correctly, knowing wrongly, not seeing the flaws of sensual pleasure, the person craves and longs for good things to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to touch. And the person craves for better and better things. And there will be palavadana, there will be strong, intense craving. Thinking sensual pleasure as good, the person craves for these sensual objects. And the person cling onto them, grasping, clinging with craving, and there is also clinging with wrong view, having wrong view that there is the atta, that is good and pleasant. The sensual pleasure is good and pleasant, but it is dangerous and fatal. As the person takes sensual pleasure as good and pleasant, the person craves for these kind of sensual pleasure, not seeing the flaws of sensual pleasure, that it is dangerous and fatal. One craves for these pleasure, and there is not knowing, ignorance, knowing wrongly, and craving the sensual pleasure. By getting what they need, they crave for more and more. They crave on good things, craving for better things, clinging onto these pleasant things. And there is clinging with wrong view that it is I who is enjoying this pleasure, and they crave for better and better pleasure. As they seek more and more pleasure for oneself, for family, if there is wrong intention, wrong attention, the person commits wrongdoing, and the person seeks sensual pleasure unlawfully, and the person commits offense. For the person is committing offense, and there will be misconduct, evil conduct. If the person has good attention, then the person will be content with whatever one has. Being content with whatever one has, it will not lead to bad conduct. So if the person is content with what one has, it will not lead to misconduct. Committing good and bad deeds that lead to further assistances, there will be resultants and there will be more assistances. Good deeds bring good results, bad deeds bring bad results. When planting trees, the tree that gives the sour, then the tree will give sour fruit. And if one plants the kind of tree that gives sweet, then the tree will give sweet fruit. And if the person plants something that has the potency of bitterness, then the tree will give the bitter fruit. So based on the potency, the tree gives either the sweet or sour or bitter fruit. In the same way, the person who has the potency of unwholesomeness will get bad results. The person who has the potency of wholesomeness will get good results. In this way, vipaka, the resultants, keep on rotating. As long as the tree gets the nutriment from soil, water, air, and the sunshine, the tree will live according to its lifespan. If the person wants to kill the tree, for example, if one wants to kill the teak tree, one has to peel the bark of the tree for about 1 feet. The bark absorbs the nutriment from the soil, water, air, and the sunshine. When the bark has been peeled off, it can no longer absorb the nutriments. Not being to absorb the nutriments, the sap in the tree dries, and then the tree eventually dies. Among the 3 rounds, the sap of the tree is compared to kilesavada, the round of defilements. So in order to cut the kilesavada, the round of defilements, yogi needs to note the object with aim and effort so that mindfulness will be sustained and samadhi, concentration, will develop. And when the noting mind falls calm, collected on the object, the person discerns the nama-rupa, cause and effect, arising, passing away, impermanent suffering and non-self, and the person cultivates Vipassana knowledge stage by stage, and one will discern correctly. Discerning correctly, discerning the nama-rupa, cause and effect, impermanent suffering and non-self, avijja, ignorance, will have no chance to arise as the person discerns correctly. Discerning correctly, one cultivates vijja. Cultivating vijja, avijja, ignorance, has no chance to arise. Avijja, ignorance, is the most important among the kilesavada, the round of defilements. Avijja is compared to the head. If the person is cut off at the head, the person can no longer survive. By cutting, removing avijja, ignorance, the other defilements are also removed. So just as one has to peel the bark of the tree in order to kill the tree, in the same way, one has to remove avijja, ignorance, in order to cut the 3 rounds. Not discerning, there will be craving. By discerning, by cultivating knowledge, one will no longer crave. Not discerning correctly, not knowing correctly, one craves onto objects, there will be clinging. If dana, craving, is removed, then one will no longer cling. In this way, by discerning dukkha satya, by discerning the truth of suffering, one automatically removes ignorance. If there is ignorance, there will be craving. By removing ignorance, by discerning, craving will no longer arise. When when craving no longer arises, upadana, clinging, is also removed. By being mindful of the object, by discerning moment by moment, for the moment the person discerns, the person removes avijja, tanha, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. Having defilements, the person commits unwholesome deeds as well as ordinary form of wholesome deeds that lead to further assistances, and thus Vipassana, round of resultants, will be rotating. Having avijja, tanha, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging, that will lead to good and bad deeds that generate more existences, and thus the round of resultant follow. By being mindful at the moment the object arises, discerning the nama rupa, cause and effect, impermanent suffering and non-self, one cultivates knowledge, cultivating vijja, ignorance, avijja, is dispelled. Just like when the head of the person is cut off, the person cannot survive any longer. In the same way, when the avijja, ignorance, is cut off, the rounds will not rotate. So it is very important to discern. By discerning, one removes ignorance. Removing ignorance, one will not crave. Removing craving, clinging will no longer arise. In this way, kilesa vata, the round of defilements, will be cut. Cutting the round of defilements, one will no longer commit unwholesome deeds or the ordinary form of wholesome deeds. And in this way, one also removes the kamavata, the round of bad deeds, as well as ordinary form of wholesome deeds, and thus vipakkavata, the round of resultants, will not rotate. By being mindful, there is the 8 factors of the path involved: sila, samadhi, panya, morality, concentration, and wisdom is involved. And by being mindful, by developing 8 factors of the path, one removes the kilesa vata, the round of defilements. And Sayadaw will continue to explain how by cultivating the 8 factors of the path, one can remove the kilesa vata. And Sayadaw will continue tomorrow.